Have you ever felt truly alone, as if the whole world was somehow against you? Have you ever faced storms with no one walking beside you? Today, I want to tell you the story of a wolf who was cast out of his pack and forced to survive in complete solitude. Stay with me, because this story may change the way you see loneliness, not as a punishment, but as the fire that forges the strongest souls. There was once a wolf, young, powerful, with the presence of a future leader. He was born deep in the northern forests, where winters were long and merciless, and only the strong endured. From a very young age, he was different, not because he was the biggest, nor the fastest, but because there was something in his eyes, a quiet determination, a fire burning deep within. While the other cubs played, he observed. While others followed the leader without question, he wondered why. His instinct pushed him to question, to learn, to grow. It seemed as though fate had something special prepared for him, but life, as it often does, had other plans. Just as he was beginning to understand his place in the pack, betrayal arrived. Some feared his potential, others envied what they could not control. And one night, without warning, without explanation, he was expelled. Alone, wounded, broken. He did not understand why. He had given everything to his pack, and in a single moment, he had no one left. He found himself in the heart of the forest, beneath a moonless sky, with only the echo of his own howl as company. And there, his true story began. The first nights were hell. The cold did not only freeze his bones, it froze his soul. There was no shelter, no warmth, no one. Only trees groaning under the wind, ravens crying in the darkness, their voices feeding his fear, his sadness, his pain. Shadows seemed to swallow everything. And hunger, that deep, tearing hunger, not just the kind that empties the stomach, but the kind that hollows out the spirit. A hunger no meat could satisfy, no water could ease, no rest could cure. It burned from the inside, forcing him to question whether he was still alive or simply resisting death. The nights stretched endlessly. Time itself felt like a cruel punishment. The icy wind whispered memories, the betrayal, the turned backs, the silence of those he had once protected. Sometimes he closed his eyes, hoping not to open them again. But something inside him, a spark, an ancient voice, a rebellious heartbeat, refused to let him stop. Deep within, there lived a force that would not accept the end. At dawn one morning, he searched for prey. Through the snow, he spotted a group of deer feeding beneath the frozen grass. He lunged into the hunt, clumsy, weak, failing. He fell. He missed. Each mistake brought him closer to death. And yet, something inside him refused to surrender. He did not know why, but he felt that this solitude was not his end. It was part of his transformation. Days passed. He faced mountain lions, bears, other predators. Wounds carved themselves into his body, not marks of defeat, but scars of evolution. Once he approached another pack, hoping for refuge, perhaps understanding. Instead, he was met with snarls and teeth. An outsider was not welcome. Difference in the wild is eliminated. He was attacked, chased. He fled in pain, but not in fear. And in the middle of that escape, something inside him changed. That day, he understood something brutal and clear. There was no going back. No place left to return. If he was going to survive, he would have to become more than just a wolf. He would have to become a legend. One night, resting beneath a frozen, star-filled sky, silence wrapped around him completely. No wind, no howls, nothing, only his uneven breathing and the distant cracking of frost-covered branches. He looked up at the vast ocean of stars and felt no peace. He felt small, insignificant. The universe was enormous, and he felt impossibly alone. He closed his eyes and asked himself, why this path? Why lose everything? Why does it feel like no matter how far I walk, I will never arrive anywhere? No answer came. Only the cold whisper of the wind, not embracing, but clawing. Was he meant to walk alone forever? Was there truly no place for him in this world? He felt frozen, not just in body, but in soul. Then, the absolute silence was broken by a soft sound. Barely noticeable. His senses awakened. Something was approaching. Not a threat, not prey, something else. From the branches of an ancient oak, a majestic figure descended. An owl with silver-gray feathers and eyes as deep as the night itself. The wolf rose cautiously, but did not growl. Something about this being disarmed him, without words. The owl landed before him, silent, still, as if gazing not at his body, but into his wounded soul. At last, a voice spoke. Not heard with ears, but with the spirit, the owl spoke. You are not alone by mistake, young wolf, the wise one said slowly. You are alone because the ones meant to walk beside you are not yet ready to do so, and you are not yet ready to guide them. The wolf stared, and for the first time, without growls or armor, he let the truth inside him spill out. I didn't ask for this, he said, his voice breaking. I would give anything to go back, to have my pack again, my home. What did I do so wrong to deserve this? Why did they turn their backs on me? All I wanted was to belong. That's all. The owl listened in silence. It didn't interrupt. It didn't judge. Because the wise know something. The soul must empty itself first before it can be filled. I'm tired, the wolf continued, eyes lowered. Tired of fighting alone. Sometimes I just want to give up, to sleep, and not wake up. Because this emptiness, this cold, I can't bear it anymore. There was a long silence. And then the owl spoke with a calm that seemed to wrap around the night itself. Do not fear your loneliness. It is not a punishment. It is a season, a sacred step that only those with something great to offer the world are forced to walk through. The wolf slowly lifted his head. His eyes were still wounded, but they were no longer running. And what if it never ends? He asked. What if this pain stays forever? The owl lowered its head gently, as if honoring the question. Pain always leaves marks, it said, but not every mark is a wound. Some marks become maps. Suffering you understand becomes wisdom, and wisdom you share becomes guidance for others. I don't know if I can, the wolf whispered. I don't feel strong. I feel broken. The owl shifted softly on the branch and looked at him with something like tenderness. You feel broken, it said, because you are no longer the same. But that is not weakness. That is evolution. the wolf went silent. Not because he had nothing left to say, but because, for the first time, someone's words didn't hurt. They didn't judge. They didn't demand. They simply understood. The owl turned its head toward the stars. When pain and loneliness are not understood, they hurt more, it said. But when you understand them, they transform you. You're not here by accident. You're being tempered. And when the moment comes, others will arrive. So, young wolf, embrace your solitude. Let it teach you. And you will find your place in this world. The wind moved gently through the trees. The stars seemed to shine brighter. And for the first time in a long time, the wolf did not feel lost. Now he understood. His loneliness and his pain had meaning. They had purpose. The next morning, as the first sunlight filtered through the frozen trees, something changed in the wolf's heart. He no longer walked without direction. He no longer moved only by instinct or desperation. Now he had a path. Now he had purpose. He began to see beyond himself. It was no longer only about surviving. It was about growing, learning, leaving a mark. His steps, once wandering, became firm. Every howl carried meaning. Every action carried a message. His solitude no longer consumed him. He wore it like something sacred, part of his story, part of his training, part of his teacher. He was ready for whatever came next, with a quiet heart, but alert eyes. And though he still walked alone, he hunted better. He moved with precision, with intuition. His senses became sharper, his body stronger, his mind more awake. He had stopped merely surviving and had begun to live. And even when he failed, he did not surrender. He learned how to read the forest, how to listen to the wind, how to recognize life's signs. And although loneliness remained, it no longer weighed the same. Now it felt like companionship, not condemnation. One day, as he walked through the forest with steady eyes and the shadow of the past finally far from his shoulders, fate moved again. In that moment of clarity, life placed something in front of him that he did not expect. Others, like him. First, there was one. A lone wolf with sad eyes, but a strong spirit. He had walked a long road, carrying his own wounds, shaped by exile and solitude. Then another arrived, younger, more impulsive, but with the same fire in his gaze. He had lost everything, but not his will to fight. They did not unite out of need, but out of vision. They weren't searching for a leader, but they found one. Because the majestic wolf did not force his power on them, he carried it through example. He did not speak about pain, he embodied it. He did not speak about endurance, he was endurance. And so, without seeking it, without planning it, he began to form a new pack. A pack of lonely wolves. Wolves who now walk together, not because they were weak, but because they shared the same story. They learned to hunt as one, to protect each other, to trust. What they once did alone, they now did as a true team. They coordinated every move in their hunts, and they rarely failed. They watched each other's backs. They faced bears, mountain lions, and other predators, and they overcame them. And with every victory guided by the majestic wolf, they grew stronger. His leadership was not demanded through force. It was earned through wisdom, example, and vision. Slowly, that small pack grew. More wolves who had also tasted rejection, loss, loneliness, began to join them. Because in him, And in that pack, they found something they couldn't find anywhere else: meaning, belonging, purpose. Over time, that pack became legend, the strongest, the most respected, the most united in the entire region. Led by the one who had once been exiled, the one who had walked alone for so long, the one who turned every wound into a lesson, every fall into character, every lonely night into inner strength. His howl was no longer the cry of a solitary wolf. It became the echo of a life built through scars, a voice that spoke of rising, of purpose, of what it truly means to be free in the middle of loneliness, and of the moment when, at his lowest point, he chose not to give up. And so the majestic wolf did not only survive, he transformed. He went from being a rejected outcast to becoming a guide, a leader, a legend. Not because he chased greatness, but because he stayed faithful to his path in spite of pain, loneliness, cold, and silence. Because he understood something very few understand. Sometimes life isolates you not to destroy you, but to shape you. It pulls you away from what you know so you can discover what you truly are. It leaves you alone so you can finally meet your real self. So if you're watching this right now and you feel like that lone wolf, consider this. You are not unlucky. You are being formed. You are not lost. You are in training. Use your solitude. Embrace it as a teacher. Work on yourself. And do not give up. Every dark night, every blow, every rejection is molding you. And the day will come when you finally understand why this road was yours. Because the greatest and strongest are not born in comfort. They are forged in silence, in struggle, in loneliness. Now tell me in the comments, do you see yourself in this story? Have you also had to walk alone, in silence, while the world couldn't see your battle? If this video has helped you understand that loneliness is not the end, but the process that prepares you, then this story has already fulfilled its mission. Don't forget to like the video, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe to the channel for more stories that impact, that heal, that awaken. But don't leave just yet. On your screen, there are more stories like this. And if this one touched you, I promise, the next one waiting for you might touch you even more. Thank you for staying until the end, and I'll see you in the next story.